"Mother, is this the man you paid to become my husband?" The question fell into the air like broken glass. Everyone in the living room froze. Lydia Mercer did not turn immediately. She continued pouring her wine, pretending calm, pretending control. Only her fingers betrayed her, tightening slightly around the glass. "Alina," she said quietly, "mind your tone." But Alina Mercer had never minded anything in her life. She stood at the top of the curved staircase, tall, elegant, beautiful in the effortless way money creates. Her silk robe dragged behind her like a queen's shadow. Her eyes moved slowly over the man standing below. He was calm, too calm. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't impressed. He simply stood there like someone who belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. Alina descended the stairs slowly, her heels clicking like a clock counting down something invisible. She stopped in front of him. "So," she said, circling him slowly, "you're the investment." The man finally spoke. "My name is Adrian Kane." His voice was steady, low, controlled. Alina smirked. "Of course it is." She extended her hand, not for a handshake, but inspection.
He looked at it,
then shook it, not submissively, not arrogantly, just evenly. And that was the first thing that unsettled her. Because Adrian Kane did not behave like a man who had been bought. In the city of Halcyon, power was measured in silence. The richer you were, the quieter your name was spoken. And Lydia Mercer's name was barely spoken at all. She owned half the skyline. Glass towers, hotels,
banks,
entire blocks that breathed profit. People didn't question her. They adjusted around her. But Lydia Mercer had one weakness. Her daughter. Alina Mercer was 28, beautiful, intelligent, and completely uncontrollable. She did not respect authority because she had never experienced consequence. She insulted investors. She humiliated staff. She broke engagements for entertainment. One man had proposed to her publicly at a charity gala. She had laughed and walked away before he finished. The video had circulated quietly among the elite. Lydia had smiled through it, but she had not forgotten. Reputation was currency, and Alina was spending it recklessly. So Lydia did what she had always done when faced with a problem. She solved it with money. She ordered her assistant to find a man. Not a lover, not a partner, a husband, someone controlled, someone disciplined, someone who could stabilize Alina's chaos, someone who could be trusted. That was how Adrian Kane entered their lives. He had no visible family, no public relationships, no social presence. He was clean, invisible, perfect. When Lydia offered him the arrangement, he did not hesitate. "I accept," he said.
Just like that.
No negotiation, no greed, no curiosity. And Lydia, for the first time in years, felt relief. The wedding was fast. Too fast. Halcyon's elite whispered behind closed doors. No one knew Adrian Kane. No one knew where he came from. But Lydia Mercer's approval was enough. The ceremony was expensive, elegant, controlled. Alina wore white like a performance. Adrian wore calm like armor. When he placed the ring on her finger, his hands did not shake. When she looked into his eyes, she felt something she couldn't name. Not love, not fear, recognition. Like standing in front of a mirror she didn't remember creating. Marriage did not unfold the way Alina expected. Adrian did not obey her. He did not argue with her. He simply refused to be controlled. When she insulted staff, he corrected her calmly. When she threw tantrums, he ignored them. When she demanded submission, he gave silence. Silence was worse than resistance. Silence forced reflection. And reflection was unfamiliar territory. Slowly, Alina began noticing changes. Not in him, in herself. She hesitated before speaking. She paused before reacting. She watched him when he wasn't looking. He moved with purpose. Precision. Like someone executing a plan only he understood. Meanwhile, Adrian began asking questions. Small questions. Quiet questions. Questions about Lydia's early business years. About land acquisitions. About old partners. Forgotten deals. Lydia noticed. Fear entered her slowly. Not panic. Not yet. Just awareness. One night, Lydia confronted him in her private office. Why are you investigating my past? Adrian met her gaze. Because the past still exists. The answer chilled her. Not because of what he said, but because of how he said it. Like a man stating fact, not making accusation. Then the letters began arriving. Legal notices. Investigations reopening. Property claims resurfacing. Lydia's empire began trembling. She called lawyers, judges, politicians. But influence was weaker than before. Someone had prepared this carefully. Someone patient. Someone deliberate. She knew who it was. She confronted him that night. You came here for revenge. Adrian did not deny it. My father died because of you. The words landed heavily. Years ago, Lydia had destroyed a man who stood in her way. She had buried him legally, financially, socially. She had forgotten him, but he had not disappeared. He had returned, through his son. Alina overheard everything. Her husband, her mother, enemies. The truth fractured her reality. She confronted Adrian later. You used me. He looked at her. Yes. The honesty hurt more than lies. I needed access. Her voice broke. I was access. He did not respond, because it was true. Lydia's empire collapsed slowly. Investigations deepened. Assets froze. Allies disappeared. Power dissolved. She aged quickly. Fear replaced certainty. One evening, she sat alone in her mansion. Adrian entered. She looked at him. You win. He shook his head. This was never about winning. Days later, Alina requested to see Adrian. She handed him a file. Read it. He opened it. Inside were documents. Evidence. Proof. He read carefully. His expression changed. Confusion. Disbelief. The signatures. The authorizations. The orders. They did not belong to Lydia Mercer. They belonged to someone else. He looked at Alina. This isn't possible. Her eyes filled with tears. It is. He stared at her. What does this mean? Her voice trembled. It means my mother didn't destroy your father. Silence filled the room. She covered it up, Alina said. She benefited from it. But she didn't create it. Adrian felt his certainty fracture. Then who did? Alina's lips parted.
She struggled to speak.
Finally, she whispered. I did. The world stopped. Adrian stared at her. You. Her tears fell freely now. I found the truth 3 years ago. His mind refused to accept it. You were 17. She nodded weakly. I discovered the land deal. The fraud. The lies. I altered the documents. His voice hardened. Why? Her answer came broken. I wanted to see if power could be destroyed. He stared at her in horror. You destroyed my father's life. She shook her head desperately. I didn't know he would die. I didn't know it would go that far. Her voice collapsed. I was young, angry, curious. Adrian stepped back like she had struck him. You married me knowing this. She nodded. I contacted you anonymously. I gave you clues. I led you here. Every memory changed. Every coincidence became intention. You turned me into your weapon. Her voice barely existed now. Yes. Silence consumed them. Two people connected by destruction. Not love. Not revenge.
Truth. Ugly.
Unavoidable truth. I wanted to destroy the empire my mother built, she whispered. But I didn't realize I would destroy you too. Adrian felt empty. Not angry. Not satisfied. Just empty. His entire purpose had been engineered by the person standing in front of him. Not his enemy. Not his ally. Something worse. The architect. He walked away, without speaking. Weeks passed. Lydia Mercer publicly confessed to financial crimes she did commit. Her empire ended. Her name faded. The mansion grew quiet. Servants were let go. The glass towers still stood, but they no longer belonged to her. Adrian stayed.
Neither of them spoke about why.
He spent his days in the library reading. She spent hers in the garden, watching things grow. They ate meals at opposite ends of the long table. They did not discuss the file. They did not discuss the past. But the past existed in every silence. One evening, Adrian stood alone on the balcony overlooking Halcyon. The city glittered below, indifferent to the drama that had unfolded in the mansion on the hill. Cars moved like slow light through the streets. People lived their ordinary lives. Alina joined him quietly. I don't expect forgiveness. He didn't look at her. I know. She swallowed hard. I wanted to see if truth mattered more than power. He finally looked at her. And what did you learn? Her answer came softly. It does. Silence stretched between them. The city moved below. Unaware. Unchanged. You could leave, she said. Go anywhere. Start over. I could. Why don't you? He considered the question. Really considered it. Because I spent 10 years planning revenge. 10 years becoming someone who could destroy an empire. And now that it's done. He paused. I don't know who I am without it. She nodded slowly. She understood. She had spent years building her own elaborate trap, and now she was caught in it too. I never meant for your father to die, she whispered. I read about it later. The stress of the investigation. The heart attack. I tried to tell myself it wasn't my fault. That I was just a girl who altered some documents. That I couldn't have known. But you did know.
His voice was flat. Not that he would die.
But that something would happen. Someone would be hurt. Yes. And you did it anyway. Yes. He turned back to the city. That's the part one can't forgive. Not yet. Maybe not ever.
She accepted this.
What else could she do? The seasons changed. Autumn came to Halcyon, painting the trees in colors that looked like fire. Adrian and Alina existed in their strange purgatory, not married in any real sense, not strangers, not enemies, not friends. One afternoon, she found him in the library with old newspapers spread across the table. Articles about her mother's trial, about the collapsed empire, about the victims of various Mercer business dealings. There's a name here I don't recognize, he said, pointing. Marcus Webb. He lost everything in the Harbor Heights development. Do you know him? She sat down across from him. He's alive.
He runs a small bookstore downtown now.
I visit him sometimes. Adrian looked up sharply. You what? I visit him. Not to apologize. He wouldn't accept that. Just to. She struggled for the words. To remind myself. Of what I did. Of what power costs when it's wielded carelessly. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he looked back at the article. Does he know who you are? Yes. And he lets you come? He says it's better than being forgotten. Adrian absorbed this.
The complexity of it.
The impossibility of simple answers. I'd like to meet him, he said. She nodded. I'll arrange it. Marcus Webb's bookstore occupied a narrow building on a street that had once been fashionable and was now merely interesting. The windows were filled with worn leather spines and handwritten recommendations. A bell chimed when they entered. Marcus himself was behind the counter, 60-ish, gray-haired, with a kind of face that had settled into acceptance rather than bitterness. He looked up when they entered. Alina. His voice was neutral. And you must be Adrian Kane. You know who I am. I read the papers. Marcus gestured to chairs arranged near a window.
Sit.
I'll make tea. They sat. The store smelled of paper and dust and time. Marcus returned with 3 mismatched cups and sat across from them. You look like your father, he said to Adrian. I met him once. Briefly. Before everything. Adrian leaned forward. What was he like? Marcus considered. Angry. Righteous. He had been wronged, and he knew it. But he was also... He searched for the word.
Alive.
Fully alive.
Some people are.
Most aren't. He was. Adrian felt something crack inside him. He had spent so long focused on the injustice of his father's death that he had forgotten to remember his life. "I'm sorry," Marcus said quietly, "for your loss, however complicated it's become." Alina sat perfectly still, watching them both. "I should go," Adrian said suddenly. He stood. "Thank you. For the tea." For he couldn't finish. Marcus nodded. "Come again. If you want." Outside, the autumn air bit sharply. Alina caught up with him half a block down. "Are you all right?" He stopped walking, stood with his hands in his pockets, staring at nothing. "I don't know." She waited. He said, "My father was alive. Fully alive. And I've spent my entire adult life preparing for revenge. Living in the past. Being dead to everything else. You were honoring him. Was I?" He turned to face her. Or was I using his death as an excuse to avoid living? She had no answer. "I can't forgive you," he said. "But I can't keep hating you either. It's exhausting. And it's not making me more alive." She nodded slowly. "What do we do now?" He looked at her, really looked at her for what felt like the first time. Saw the woman she had become. Not the girl who had made an unforgivable choice. Saw the weight she carried. Saw the person standing in front of him. "I don't know," he admitted. "But maybe we figure it out together." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't love. It wasn't even hope. But it was something. And in a world built on broken things, something was enough to start.